Here you see some of the prototypes that we went through during the development and design of this project. Once again, this is the original one, and you'll see, apart from the white edition prototype, every single one actually have the exact same top plate. This is mostly handmade, and as I mentioned before, because it was a development piece, it had to be modular, it was so thick, and the sides are just hand cut and painted plastic. And here are the ports. And during the campaign, after seeing how much funds we have raised, I had decided to upgrade to a larger graphical screen, and this is the white edition prototype that we used to demonstrate and test the idea. There was a video that I uploaded of this design. It has this smaller graphical LCD that made it to the final white edition piece. And the bottom is, again, just pieced together from the parts I had. This was just the development board for the electronics. Then we started on the design, and after a few concepts, this is what I came up with. And you can already see it has begun to look like the final piece we had, but there are lots of details here. There are lots of changes in the minor details. What remains from the original design is the 10-degree angle that we have on top, so when they rest on a flat surface, these are angled slightly towards you, so you can see the screen and use it more easily. I'll just remove this. These are just attached by double-sided tape, and these parts are 3D printed just to test the idea. The original idea was to have these sides made of folded aluminum, and have a middle section that is U-shaped, and all the electronics would go inside. And then on the inside there would be a chassis like this. Of course, everything would be made in black. Again, these are 3D printed parts to test how it handles, how it looks. So again, the idea was to have this folded U-shaped band to serve as the chassis, and then these side pieces will be bolted from underneath to here, and here you would have the openings for all the inlets and outlets, and then the top piece, this one broke down, it will be a single piece like this. It will be either bolted or glued to the top section, and inside we would have a chassis. Then we started developing the chassis, and one of the first ideas was to have this top section. These sockets would not be here, they would be closer to here. These were the openings for the sockets. The top breakout board would go here, and the main board would be put from underneath. And then I realized maybe since the main board goes under here, maybe it would be better to have an opening underneath to service the whole thing. This is also a 3D prototype that did not survive all the handling, drilling and testing. So instead of this closed side, I changed to the two U-shaped parts that would receive the side pieces, and then again the top plates. However, there were a few problems with the idea. It would be, after the assembly, very hard to insert and remove the main board. So we went on with the design and came to this. This is one of the older chassis, and the idea is having this Z-shaped, U-shaped, I don't think that has a definite shape. The idea was to have this chassis and again drop the mainboard from underneath. Where's the screen? Oh, here it is. I can also drop this one here. Here's the screen. Bolt the screen on here, insert the mainboard from beneath it, and then everything would just be bolted to this chassis, and the openings were for the LEDs. Because the last board I showcased was actually this very board, and it had the control section, the encoders, the middle button, the LEDs for the progress bar, and these on the main board itself. So this was a one-piece board, and the problem with this, let me take this one. Problem with this is, since we changed into a graphical LCD, the LCD became way larger. So when the LCD fits on the board, let me focus. When the LCD fits on the board like this, the corner of the LCD actually goes directly under the progress bar. So there was no way I could get the LEDs to directly underneath here to light the bar up. Again, this is the board I showed. These are the LCDs. These are the LEDs. And when you put them together, you will see LEDs are quite a bit far away from the progress bar. Hold on. Couldn't find the piece I was looking for, but here's something else. This one has... I have tried to make some light guides, but they did not work. I tried to make this piece with mirrors on it. That did not really work. So the only way was to raise and focus. The only way was to raise and angle the LEDs like this, so that they would have a reach around the LCD and light up the progress bar. So that and a couple of other issues had led me to make another design to the main board, and the main board just came cut in half. This is the top section, and here's the bottom section. So this design is actually exactly like the old design. It's almost like as if someone took a scissor to this and cut it in half. How it works in my favor, I will demonstrate shortly. After that, we made another redesign of the internal chassis, which had these two sections that the original one did not have. When the top section is pressed, this is not the one, this is the one. When the top section is pressed against the chassis, these teeth go into the slits and everything becomes a sturdy one-piece assembly that later gets bolted through all these holes. And on the bottom it was still open, so where's the LCD again? Everything is... So again, the LCD goes in here, it gets bolted through these holes. Then on the back, oops, why doesn't it fit? Nah, it fits. Here's the opening for the LCD. Then the main board goes in here, and this section, let me drop it here, this section along with the control section are bolted to the top part. And in the final assembly you would have all access by removing a bottom cover that would go here. Just unscrew these holes, remove the cover, and there's your main board. Then I thought, well, people are not going to open this up every day, will they? So how about we make everything even simpler, make a whole new bottom part, which is, by the way, this is really heavy, this is made of steel, and just these three parts are over 1 kilogram, without anything, without the internal chassis, without all the electronics. This idea is to take the original chassis, let's take this one instead, and just screw it from down there, and that's actually the final design we have, and the one that we will assemble. Disassemble. I like how this one looks. It looks like the... Shut up, phone. I like how this one looks. It looks like the Mark I armor from Iron Man 1, and it also sounds like it too. So anyway, let's make some space for the disassembly. This is the final one. This is the silver edition that we have, that we use all through the video. So I've said, now you can clearly see the bottom section. It is one piece. The only 4 holes that you can see from the outside are covered by these feet. Of course, these will come in black for the final product. So, let's dive inside. After removing the rear, I've already removed the rear end and the bottom screws. You can just remove the cover. And inside you will see, as I mentioned, the main board. Oh, I also removed most of the other screws along with the sideboards here that I showed before for the extra ports. And this is how the main board looks like. This is not bolted. This is how it looks from behind. So to go on further with the disassembly, just remove this cable, remove this one, remove the third one, remove the screw that connected to the chassis, and the main board just slides right off. The Arduino is still connected, socketed to the back part, and now you can see the chassis. Again, there are holes that will be bolted to the top section there. I've already moved the screws. You just force it very lightly, and then you can remove the chassis. And again, since I have removed the screws, the LCD got stuck in here. The LCD will actually be screwed down here, and it will come along with the chassis. And this is the top assembly. Here you can see the control board, and here you can see the top breakout board. You can, let me focus really close. You can see the LEDs are compared to the, where is it? This one. Compared to this one, the LEDs are still angled, are still not flush to the board, but this is much more easier to make, and it will be sturdier in the long run. This is what lights up the progress bar. They work quite well even when the LCD covers that section. And there are lots of bracings around here and here, and you have all the buttons, dials, everything. So, what does it mean for us? Let's say we have made some changes to the design and we came up with a different mainboard. Lost the focus again. I'm going to disable the autofocus here. Let's say we have designed a new mainboard which is more capable, maybe it has an extra memory. You already have your processor board. Let me remove it. I can just ship you a new mainboard then. I'll be able to just ship you a new mainboard, and you can just remove the processor, get this one, throw it away, it's obsolete now, there's a new version, drop it right in, and maybe you will have extra hardware capabilities. Or let's take another scenario. Let me put this together partially. This is what you have, this cable goes in here, all this area, all the sides are just free space. I'll be designing some new modules, maybe with wireless capabilities that can trigger the power bricks wirelessly, so you don't have to run cables everywhere. Maybe an SD card reader so you can share recipes, or have some computer-made analysis of your paper and your developer. You can just, there could be an SD card reader here, and you could just insert the card reader, change the front panel, back panel when you need to insert a new socket. It was the failing of this design. It looked nice, but you would have to change the whole metal thing instead of just replacing a back cover. Also, this chassis can stand alone on its own with the top plate. With the top plate assembled, let's turn the focus on again. So it will work like this when it's screwed down. You don't actually need to put the bottom cover on, which means if you want to experiment with this, it is still as easily accessible as this version. This one just has the extra feet. And you can also, if you want to design a different case, for instance, if you want to make these parts taller, if you want to use this area for something else, you can make a 3D print like this. I will supply the original design dimensions. Get a new print, just attach them here by the holes, and you can just make a taller one for whatever reason you may imagine. Maybe you want some extra sockets here, maybe you have a custom board. So this design is quite flexible, and it will hopefully serve us all for many years to come. So, what a mess I made. So this has been the disassembly part of this video. As I've said, there will be a few more videos coming up very soon. And hopefully I will start shipping very shortly. I'm really looking forward to it. I have some other projects coming up, and I have to deliver every single unit that had been pre-ordered before starting working on the next projects. I hope you liked what you see. Even if you haven't contributed, I hope I have given you some inspiration to work with.